Good evening, everyone. This is Rola Abouneama, a fresh graduate from the Faculty of Economics and Political Science at Future University in Egypt. And allow me to introduce our topic titled The Impact of Currency Volatility on the Remittance Inflows in Egypt from 2000 to 2023. I'm presenting this paper alongside for my colleagues and Dr. Abeer Rashdan, the head of the Economics Department in the Future University in Egypt. So this is our outline for today. Let's just skip it to the intro. So in Egypt, remittances are far more than financial transfers. They are lifelines. They keep families afloat. They fund education for children. They fuel small businesses, as well as providing a steady source of foreign currency to the national income. Yet, they do not operate in a vacuum. They are tied to one of the most volatile forces in economic, which is the currency exchange rate. So when the value of the Egyptian pound shifts for the real value of every dollar, euro, or real sent home, influencing the time, the volume, and even the process of this remittance. So one of the most dramatic examples came in November of 2016 when Egypt implemented the bold and unprecedented decision of monetary reforms by the flotation of the Egyptian pound. Overnight, its value plunged, creating both challenges and opportunities for the remitters, and similar episodes had followed. Sharp fluctuations has occurred, leaving a distinct imprint on the remittance patterns in Egypt. Now, we can say that Egypt is one of the top 5 remittance receiving countries according to the World Bank.
Rola, I need to interrupt. If yes, you're changing your slides, we can't see them changing. We can only see the first slide so far.
Oh, 1 second. What can you see now? Is it a different
significance? Significance. Now we can see.
Maybe I just presented that way, not in the presentation form, as it may disrupt the form. Okay.
You can just go on from wherever you were presenting. You go to that slide now.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so as I said, that Egypt was one of the top 5 remittance receiving countries according to the World Bank globally. And in the first 7 months of the 2024-2025 fiscal year, the remittance has plunged from $11 billion to $20 billion according to the Central Bank of Egypt. And in the regional level, MENA region recorded a 5.4% increase in the remittances, largely driven by the rebound inflows into Egypt, as reported by the World Bank. So for our first graph, this is a comparison between both the Suez Canal and the personal remittance received, which are both 2 major sources of income to the Egyptian GDP, in which we can see that the personal remittance received are constantly surpassing the Suez Canal revenue. And there a major jump which happened in 2017, which was following the 2016 flotation of the Egyptian pound. The devaluation sharply increased the local currency of the remittance, pushing them to their highest share in the series at most. For the next chart, it is a comparison between the remittance received in Egypt and the average of the MENA region, excluding high-income countries. So we can see at also 2017, Egypt's remittance has reached 10% of the GDP, which is almost triple what the MENA region average is. Okay, so now for the third chart, it shows the evolution of the Egyptian immigration for 4 decades. We can see that it was steady until the year of 2020, where there is a major jump that happened between 2020 and 2022, in which immigration has risen from 4 million Egyptians to 12 million Egyptians in just 2 years, reflecting economic challenges, inflation, and currency depreciation, as well as a global demand for labor. And this graph shows the evolution of the exchange rate, of the Egyptian exchange rate to the US dollars. And you can see that it was constant until from the 1980s to the 2000s, the rate rose gradually, reflecting a controlled devaluation. However, in 2016, we can see that the flotation of the pound, which caused a sharp jump from 8.8 to nearly 18 Egyptian pounds per dollar. And then after a period of stability, the currency experienced another dramatic depreciation in 2022 and 2023, reaching 50 Egyptian pounds per dollar in 2024. And the final chart, which shows the exchange rate volatility calculated by the 3-year rolling standard deviation method. We can see that at 2004, it spiked, reflecting earlier currency reforms. And then there was a decline during the period of relative stability until the mid of 2010s, in which 2016 happened. You can see that it spiked in 2019. This is reflecting what happened 3 years earlier in 2016, which is again the flotation of the Egyptian pound. This brings us to our research question, which is, to what extent does exchange rate volatility influence the value and the stability of the remittance inflows in Egypt? And the research objective is to examine the impact of exchange rate volatility on remittance inflows in Egypt, and to determine whether the exchange rate uncertainty discourages the migrants from sending more money back. And now for the literature review. Second, yeah, here. Our literature review is mainly split into two main categories. The first one examines the exchange rate volatility and its direct impact on the remittance inflows. So we can see here the study of Ghanem and Hashim, which finds that exchange rate volatility has a negative impact on the remittances in Egypt, as well as a study that happened in the South Asian Association countries, in which it shows that extreme volatility discourages the remittance by increasing the uncertainty and the transactional costs. On the other hand, we have some papers that argue that remittances themselves are a source of exchange rate volatility. So, such as Sadat al-Nadri in 2020, they found that remittance increased volatility while the FDI stabilizes it. And Lopez et al. In 2007 found that remittance caused exchange rate appreciation, leading to the Dutch disease effect. Now, this bidirectional relationship is contingent on several factors, whether the country is a receiving or the sending country. It's also contingent on the currency regime in this country, whether it's fixed, managed, or floating, and finally on the black market activity in this country. And now for our data and methodology. Our study focused on 4 main variables: our dependent variable, which is the personal remittance received; the independent variable, which is the official exchange rate; and we also included 2 control variables, which were the inflation and the GDP growth. All came from the World Bank, except for the exchange rate was sourced by the IMF. As moving on to how we measured these relationships, it's first to capture the exchange rate. As mentioned earlier, we used the 3-year rolling standard deviation method. And for our analysis, we applied the ARDL model. This model works particularly well for these time series data, as it allows us to explore both short and long run relationship between our variables. Now, these are the results. Moving on to their interpretation, fast forward. So what we found that in the short run, exchange rate volatility has a positive and statistically significant effect on the remittance inflows. So in simple terms, when exchange rate volatility increases with 2-period lag, remittance rise by around 2.2 units. Inflation also shows a positive effect, but not statistically significant, meaning short-term changes does not have a major influence on the remittances. However, the GDP growth has a different story, in which a positive and significant effect at a 1% increase with 2-period lag, it's associated with 1.3 increase in the remittance. For the long run, exchange rate volatility has a positive and statistically significant effect on the remittance inflows. So in simple terms also, when exchange rate volatility increases by 1 unit, the remittance rises by around 9.06 units. But both inflation and GDP were statistically not significant. So overall, this tells us that exchange rate volatility plays a consistent and important role in shaping the remittance flows in both in short and long term, while inflation and GDP appears to have a little lasting effects. And now to wrap up our research, The research was set to explore a question that is not just academically important, but deeply relevant to the Egyptian society and economy. And answering this question, which is how does exchange rate volatility impact the remittance inflows in Egypt? Over the span of 23 years, from 2000 till 2023, Egypt has went through multiple currency reforms, inflationary waves, and global shocks. However, remittance has remained a lifeline for millions of Egyptian families. And our goal was to understand whether these inflows respond to shift in the currency and the values, and the answer turned out to be complex. In the short run, volatility did not exhibit a significant immediate impact. However, when examined at LAC 2, findings were closely aligned to two studies in which are Ahmed and El Sayed, as well as Ghanem and Hisham, which also highlight the importance of the delayed effects and understanding the remittance responses in Egypt. But in the long run, the relationship is clear, in which moderate depreciation of the Egyptian pound actually encourages higher remittance, as migrants tend to take advantages of these favorable situations. And these contradict the studies in which Bush et al. And Martinez and Gomez, in which they find declining remittance in both formal and informal sectors. What this tells us is that remittance are not just economic transfers, they are signals of trust, connection, and responsibility. And understanding their behavior reflects how the Egyptian migrants perceive the stability of the economy back home. So thank you all very much. This was the presentation for today. I'm waiting for any questions.